Lou showed the scratches to Donna and Angie. The deep red marks etched into his skin were unlike anything they had ever seen before. They were not just scratches, they seemed to pulsate with a dark energy, as if something sinister had left its mark on him. Donna and Angie exchanged worried glances, their minds racing with fear and confusion. What could have caused such injuries? They had heard strange noises before, but this was different. This was physical, tangible evidence that something was terribly wrong. They stared in horror as strange noises began to echo through the apartment, unearthly whispers that seemed to come from the walls themselves. The air grew thick with an oppressive presence, making it hard to breathe. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of the curtains, sent shivers down their spines. It was as if the apartment had come alive, and it was not happy with its inhabitants. The once cozy home had turned into a nightmarish realm where shadows danced menacingly, and unseen eyes watched their every move. Objects began shifting on their own, as if moved by invisible hands. Books flew off shelves, chairs slid across the floor, and doors creaked open with an eerie slowness that seemed to mock their fear. It was as if the very fabric of reality was being twisted by an unseen force. The apartment had become a playground for the supernatural, and they were its unwilling participants. The sense of dread was palpable, and every moment was filled with the anticipation of the next inexplicable event. "This isn't the spirit of a child," a voice echoed in the room, breaking the silence. It was a voice filled with authority and knowledge, a voice that seemed to understand the darkness that had enveloped their lives. The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. The doll, with its eerie eyes and sinister smile, seemed to mock them, as if it knew the truth all along. The realization hit them like a cold wave, sending chills down their spines. This was no innocent spirit. This was something far more malevolent. "What you've been dealing with is something far worse," the voice continued, each word dripping with a sense of foreboding. The doll's face seemed to change, its eyes glinting with a malevolent intelligence. It was as if the doll was alive, feeding off their fear, growing stronger with each passing moment. The room seemed to darken, the shadows growing longer and more menacing. The air was thick with a sense of impending doom, and they could feel the weight of the unseen entity pressing down on them. After investigating, the Warrens concluded that Annabelle wasn't possessed by a young girl's spirit at all. It was a demonic entity, manipulating the woman by pretending to be a harmless child. The Warrens, with their years of experience in dealing with the supernatural, knew the signs. They had seen this before, and they knew the danger it posed. The entity had used the guise of an innocent child to gain their trust, to lower their defenses. It was a classic tactic, one that had worked all too well. The realization was both terrifying and sobering. They were not dealing with a lost soul, they were dealing with a predator. It was a demonic entity, manipulating the woman by pretending to be a harmless child. Its goal was far more sinister, to possess one of the living. The entity had no interest in merely haunting the apartment. It wanted to take over, to inhabit a living body. The doll was just a vessel, a means to an end. The true danger lay in its ability to influence and control, to bend the will of the living to its own dark purposes. The stakes were higher than they had ever imagined, and the sense of urgency was palpable. The Warrens performed an exorcism to cleanse the apartment and took Annabelle with them. The ritual was intense, filled with prayers and incantations designed to banish the dark entity. The air crackled with energy, and the room seemed to vibrate with the power of the words being spoken. It was a battle of wills, a struggle between light and darkness. The Warrens, with their unwavering faith and determination, managed to drive the entity out, but they knew it was not gone for good. They took Annabelle with them, hoping to contain the evil within the doll, but even in their care, the doll's malevolent presence continued. The Warrens could feel it, a dark energy that seemed to radiate from the doll. It was as if the entity was biding its time, waiting for the right moment to strike. The doll was placed in a special room, surrounded by protective charms and prayers, but the sense of unease never left. The Warrens knew they had to be vigilant, for the entity was cunning and patient. It would not give up easily. To contain the dark spirit, the Warrens built a special glass case inscribed with prayers of protection. The case was designed to be a barrier, a prison for the entity. It was made of thick, reinforced glass, and every inch was covered with holy symbols and prayers. The Warrens hoped that this would be enough to keep the entity at bay, to prevent it from causing any more harm. But even locked away, Annabelle's presence was undeniable. The air around the case seemed to hum with a dark energy, and those who approached it could feel the malevolence within. The Warrens warned visitors never to disrespect Annabelle. They knew that the entity thrived on fear and negativity, and any act of disrespect could provoke it. Visitors were told to keep their distance, to avoid making eye contact with the doll, and to never, under any circumstances, touch the case. The warnings were clear and stern, but not everyone heeded them. Some who ignored the warning found themselves in terrible accidents soon after, proving that the doll's curse was still active. The stories of these accidents spread, adding to the legend of Annabelle and reinforcing the need for caution. Some who ignored the warning found themselves in terrible accidents soon after, proving that the doll's curse was still active. The stories of these accidents were chilling, each one more terrifying than the last. Cars would lose control, people would suffer inexplicable injuries, and some even claimed to have seen the doll's face in their nightmares. The connection was undeniable, and the fear surrounding Annabelle grew. The doll had become a symbol of malevolence, a reminder of the dark forces that lurked just beyond the veil of our reality. To this day, Annabelle remains locked away at the New England Paranormal Research Center, once the Warrens' Occult Museum. The center is a place of study and containment, a repository for the many haunted and cursed objects the Warrens had collected over the years. It is a place where the line between the natural and the supernatural is blurred, and where the past and present collide. The museum is filled with artifacts that tell stories of encounters with the unknown, each one a testament to the Warrens' dedication to protecting the world from the forces of darkness. But don't be fooled, her spirit still lingers. The entity within Annabelle is patient, cunning, and ever watchful. It waits for the right moment, the perfect opportunity to strike. Those who encounter her say they can feel the darkness in the air, a palpable sense of dread that seems to cling to them long after they have left the museum. The stories of these encounters are varied, but they all share a common thread: the feeling of being watched, of being followed by an unseen presence. It is a feeling that is hard to shake, a reminder that the entity is still out there, still waiting. Annabelle is still out there, trapped in glass, but not powerless. The entity within the doll is a force to be reckoned with, a dark presence that defies containment. The glass case may hold her for now, but the threat remains. The stories of those who have encountered her serve as a warning. The darkness is real, and it is always watching. If you ever meet her, beware.